OK, but first, millions of us are glued to our screens watching I'm a Celebrity this year.
Yeah, we are literally loving it. And for many watching, Sam Thompson talks about his personal experience with ADHD, and we all agreed it was quite a moving moment.
When the low bits happen, like, it goes low, but then the highs are really high. Yeah. My girlfriend Zara is just so steady, and it's so good for me, because when she's going steady, I'm going like that. So it's so nice to have someone that's just, like, keeping you going. My timekeeping's terrible. Sometimes I get quite selfish where, like, and this is not just with her, it's with, like, everyone, like my mates or whatever, my listening to Zara whenever she's talking something, like, Zara will listen to me, I'll come back full of energy, be like, oh, you'll never guess what I've just done, blah, 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 blah. And then I'll be like, what have you done? And she'll go, well, I blah, 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 blah. And I'm just finding myself, like, staring off at something completely different.
He's doing so well in there, isn't he?
He's amazing, isn't he?
Yeah.
Joining us to talk about Sam's jungle journey is his partner, Zara McDermott, as well as Dr Nighat.
Morning, ladies.
How are you both?
Really good, thank you. Really
Zara,
good.
how are you?
Oh, I'm just excited every single day to sit down and watch I'm a Celeb in the evenings. It's just an absolute highlight of my day. And honestly, I think so many other people's as well.
Yeah.
We've loved him on there, haven't we?
He's
We had
been
him on Celebrity Big Brother.
Yeah.
We loved him in there. But to see him in the jungle, it's just been, I don't know, it feels a lot more raw.
Yeah. I think he's grown a lot since Big Brother as well. And I think, you know, he's now 31. He's come such a long way in, like, personal growth. And I think seeing him open up about his ADHD has made everyone, especially all of his family and me, just so proud.
Yeah.
I think it's such a difficult thing to talk openly about because there's so many personal struggles that go alongside ADHD and a lot of kind of, like, self-confusion. You know, why am I not like someone else, you know, who looks at me and thinks, why can I not listen like you? You know, why do I not think like you sometimes? But there's so many beautiful things that come alongside ADHD, and I think that we've seen that in the jungle and
There's
seen his
also a lot of
energy.
stigma attached to it as well, isn't there? Which is why I think that chat that he had the other night with Josie and Marv was so nice.
It was stunning.
To kind of hear somebody talk about it so simply.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, you know, there is a lot of stigma around any kind of neurodivergence. It's really tough to speak about because in some ways there's this feeling of abnormality. You know, why am I not like other people? But really, I do think that it's such a beautiful thing as well.
Yeah.
It is. It's my husband also has ADHD, and I think it's probably, we didn't know then. He was only diagnosed a couple of years ago. But I think that's probably part of what drew me to him, because he was so charismatic, and I think part of that is linked to ADHD, because Sam is very much that way as well. Like, he seems to be such a charismatic person.
Well, we were talking about this earlier. I mean, Sam was diagnosed later on.
Only last year? This year.
Matt was diagnosed later on in life. I want to bring Dr Nighat in. It's lovely to see you, by the way.
Hi.
We're hearing about this more and more. People in later life are being diagnosed with ADHD. This is really common, isn't it?
This is becoming more common because also, as Zara was saying, I think with being around individuals who might have slightly different traits to you, we're able to spot the signs and put the sort of the jigsaw pieces together, because nobody comes along and says, I have ADHD. Actually, it means that other people around you are observing your behaviour of maybe inattention, ability to concentrate, as Sam was saying, follow conversations through, memory fog, lapses in memory as well. And the difficulty has always been is that it's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. But there's a group within that, there's a subtype, which don't have the hyperactivity. In fact, 3 out of 10 people who have a diagnosis of ADHD don't have the hyperactivity. So we sort of think about the attention aspect of it, but that takes a while to piece together.
I was going to say how the diagnosis can sometimes take a really long time, can't it?
Yeah, I mean, in my area, I work as an NHS GP in Buckinghamshire. I'm looking at a 2-year wait. And I was talking to a colleague of mine who's an expert, and in her area where she does assessments, she goes, 2 years is actually OK. We're waiting 3 years in around Milton Keynes. And it is absolutely terrible. The reason is because this is it's not a new area of medicine, but it is an area that people are becoming more aware about, the stigma and the taboo. And I suspect the shame is decreasing as well. But the assessment process is quite tricky. So if it's in children, which majority of children is where parents look for a diagnosis, then you need a paediatrician, a child psychologist. If it's adult, you need an adult psychiatrist, and then you need a specialist in ADHD to give you that diagnosis as well. So you need 3 teams, in a way, to get together.
Everyone is different, and I know there's a broad spectrum when it comes down to ADHD and signs that you've got it or how you behave. Like you were saying with Sam, he's very excitable and all of that. But, I mean, the other morning we were talking, weren't we, and we saw a clip on the show of when Sam was cooking and everyone was like, calm down, Sam, calm down, Sam. And I don't know, it just felt a little bit uncomfortable because... Let's have a little look at it and we're going to talk about it.
Great. Sam, you need to concentrate
Come
now.
on, mate, yeah.
You were doing very well up to
You've got
now.
all the meat now, mate, so let's...
Blow that out.
Oh. Right,
OK.
Sammy, calm down, mate. Calm down a second.
Okay,
Let's have a little moment.
Sam,
Calm down.
Put the meat down.
Let's
Because you
all
know what's
just
going to
relax.
happen.
Put the meat down.
The thing is with Sam, when he gets into these situations like this, he gets quite excited. He's like a little puppy.
It's not good.
Why don't you cook the meat yourself?
No, I'll let him. Let Sammy have a go.
Fred, what are you talking about, mate?
You're not concentrating.
I'm very much concentrating.
Just do it
You're
round
not.
here, Sam. Just come and
You're
do
not
it.
concentrating, Sam.
Look,
I really felt for him.
yeah, majorly. And Zara, I don't want to speak for Sam because obviously you know him a lot better than any of us, but I watched that and I was just like, guys, you know he's got ADHD. And is that not like asking a coiled spring not to pop? Do you know what I mean? By saying, calm down, concentrate, concentrate. Should they just not let him get on with it?
I think the lovely thing about Sam is that he's able to not take things too personally. He's able to kind of understand those around him and he wouldn't have been offended by that. But I do think that in that situation it's really important, you know, it's important to sometimes bring him back down to earth a little bit, but in the right way.
Yeah.
I think all those voices would have probably overwhelmed him quite a lot.
That's how it felt for us, didn't it? Watching
Yeah,
it? We'd be like,
I really felt for him, and I wanted to kind of say to them all, just kind of let him be him and get on with it and just do his thing. And you said, you know, obviously there are multiple teams to kind of that have to coordinate to finally get a diagnosis, but it is really important. And people may get really frustrated and feel like they're never going to get to the end of it, but it's really important that people stick with it, isn't it?
It is
and
really
get that diagnosis because it can make a massive difference.
Absolutely, because like that, it's that support network and knowing how to communicate with that person, which Zara has highlighted beautifully, that it's about being able to give that person some space. Because for them, I was watching that and I really felt for him because they thought that he was being disruptive and there's a negative connotation, you're the problem, when actually he just needed to get on with it because that's his ADHD. We see that in children a lot, and then particularly if you have different situations. So for him to go into the jungle is a massive change, as you were saying earlier, from him being at home, from him being in a board meeting, and so your levels of concentration have to be different. So we see normally that symptoms are heightened if there's a change in university, change in schools. And one of the things that people find really difficult to get a diagnosis, and this is particularly in children, is that they'll be fine at school, but at home the behaviour is different. And so that's known as masking. And that is actually one of the classic things that we find is what leads to a diagnosis. And they say, oh, but it's a behavioural issue and he just needs better behaviour.
It's just awareness, isn't
It's
it?
awareness. And I think that the whole issue around masking the symptoms is something that we're just scratching the surface of as doctors. And this is why parents particularly are getting really difficult to get that diagnosis. Because Sam said something really beautiful, I think early doors, when he was saying, oh, those are all the things that my teachers used to say about me. And he was listing off that this was every single school report. He goes, nobody just saw the signs.
But this is what we love about Sam, because he's very open, he's very honest. And talking of masking, one thing he's not masked is his love for Tony Bellier.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm sorry, this is the duo we never knew we needed.
Picked out, and I think Tony's
Babe,
moving
this might be
in.
the end.
This could be the end.
Are you loving seeing that bromance happen?
I think Sam is so good at finding someone who he knows he can wind up.
Yeah.
Just that little bit, but he will never push him too far, but he'll just teeter on the edge. But I think Tony absolutely adores him. I really do.
I think you can see it, can't you? He's a bit like... All right,
it's like a big brother and little brother situation, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's going to miss him when they get out. I think they're both going to miss each other.
Absolutely.
Do you think it'll be a friendship that continues
I think
outside of the
so.
jungle?
I think so. I think Sam will build some really strong bonds in there, and I think he'll value everyone he meets. But I think Tony's got a special place in his heart.
We can see it. Look,
thank you both
thank you so much. We wish him all the best as
Yeah,
well.
we
Good
do.
luck to you, babe. Nighat, love you, see you,
Thank
Dr
you.
Nighat.